Once you become a flight attendant, it quickly becomes apparent that the flight attendant lifestyle is not always glamorous. In between the financial struggles and the huge lifestyle changes, things can get a bit wary financially. However, as a new flight attendant or first-year flight attendant, there is the potential to increase your monthly income, but at what cost? Welcome back to another video. My name is Priscilla, a New York-based flight attendant. Today, I will be discussing flight attendant pay, specifically sharing all the pay I earned in August 2024. The reason I'm focusing on August 2024 is because my goal that month was to earn $7,000. Yes, you heard me correctly. My goal was to earn $7,000 in August 2024. Typically, my monthly earnings per month ranges between $4,000 to $5,000 because I try to fly as little as I possibly can afford so I can do other stuff. In order to get the full scope of my income in August, I will be talking about the following. First, the credit value and type of trips I worked that month. Secondly, I will talk about the total number of hours I worked that month. Thirdly, I will also talk about the days that I worked in August, the total number of days that I worked in August, followed by the total number of days off I had in August, and finally, the total pay I earned in that month. Majority, if not all, the trips that I worked in August, y'all, were high credit trips. I also worked a mix of 1-day, 2-day, and 3-day trips. Although the schedule period was from the 1st to the 31st of August, my trips started from 2nd August, which means the first rotation of the first trip that I started on August 2nd. So in total, I worked 1 1-day trip, 5 2-day trips, and 4 3-day trips, making 10 trips or rotations total. The 1-day trip that I worked was worth about 5 hours and 16 minutes. The 2-day trips that I worked, it varied in terms of credit and it ranged between 12 hours and 30 minutes to about 16 hours per trip. Your girl was not playing here. When I said high credit, I was not messing around, okay? And then the 3-day trips that I worked also varied in terms of credits, but they were high credit with the minimum hours being 19 hours and the highest amount of credit hours for my 3-day trip being 23 hours and 42 minutes. All the trips that I worked in August were domestic trips. I did not do any TOs. I did not do any international trips. They were all domestic trips. Seattle to Fort Lauderdale to New York, like just domestic trips. So I didn't go anywhere outside of the United States. Before I proceed, note that the trips that I worked in August 2024 were all out of Seattle base. And Seattle typically, as I've always said 1,001 times, has high credit trips. Based on the 10 trips that I worked a total of 161 hours and 12 minutes. This paid at my flight attendant hourly pay rate of $37.64. So the 161 hours was the total amount of hours that I spent flying during these trips. However, my layover hours were 327 hours and 49 minutes. This is the actual amount of hours that I spent away from home while working my 10 trips. And this layover hours is paid at $2.85 per hour. The last day of the last 3-day trip that I worked fell on September 1st. Hence, for the purpose of this video, we will assume that August has 32 days instead of 31 days because the last part of that trip fell on September 1st, and I want to include it in this total pay because it's essentially was from August. That said, I worked a total of 23 days in August, whereas I usually work 15 days per month, okay? So I was definitely booked and busy in August. So 23 days in August, that is a lot of days to work, y'all. Like that's a lot. That's a lot. I was very busy in August. Since per this video, I'm assuming, or we're assuming that August has 32 days instead of 31. After working 23 days, I had a total of 9 days off. So I worked 10 trips trips over a 23 days period, and I had 9 days off in between those trips. This is very minimal and not enough rest days in between trips, considering the fact that I was away from home for 327 hours and 49 minutes, and my trips were so high credit that my actual layover time for rest were very, very short because the trips were high credit. So a lot of the time was spent flying instead of just lounging somewhere for like 24 or 30 hours. So your girl was definitely stressed out in August. And before I proceed, the reason why I set that goal for 7K was because I had things I had to pay for. I had car insurance, I had other bills that were coming out, and instead of proceeding with debt, I know that, okay, I need to earn more. So what can I do to earn more? Pick up more trips. And also be mindful that this was during the summertime, so we had a ton of trips. We had a ton of high credit trips. But during the dry season, like January, February, typically we don't have a lot of high credit trips, or people are actually trying to work more during that time also. So it'd be like getting trips are hard, or getting good trips to work are hard. It won't be as easy as it was during the summer when we had a lot more good high credit trips. Total pay for August 2024. Note that the total amount I earned in August included all the trips I worked, which was 95% of my earnings, paid at the $37.64 per hour rate. I had one training material that I had to do, and that was paid at $90.60. And my layover pay, which was paid at my layover or my per diem, which was paid at a $2.85 rate per hour. Then boarding pay, which is time that I spent boarding the flights that I worked during those 10 trips. That was paid at $12.55 per flight. And all other pay, which is insignificant and not enough to mention. The amount of money that deductions differ from person to person, hence your take-home pay would vary. Lastly, the hourly pay for this earning is based on a first year, or my first year flight attendant pay. In August 2024, after working 10 trips over a 23-day period, spending over 327 hours away from home with 9 days off, I made $7,580.93. Yes, your girl did hit her goal of making over $7,000 as a flight attendant, and I've only been here for 1 year. There it is, friends. When I say you can earn a good amount of money working as a flight attendant, only being a year in, this is what I mean. However, there is a cost. Even though it's very high, it's 7K, we're talking about almost $8,000 a month. Cost is loss of time spent away from your home, family, and friends. Compared to someone who works a typical 9 to 5 full time, doing 180 hours a month, they will spend about 180 hours a month from home. But in my case, although I flew for 161 hours, I actually had to spend 327 hours away from my home, my family, and my friends. That said, I hope this gave you more insight into the flight attendant pay. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.